football in general comes down to discipline and people owning their roles. And when you aren't disciplined or you go outside the scheme, bad stuff happens. And we cannot have that. We need all 11 doing their damn job.
Hello and welcome to
Hey, we like your pod.
And we're going to tell you why. And we're also still grieving, but that's okay.
Working through the process.
We'll all get there together.
Yes.
We're getting there together. Hey, it's Dawn here, and I'm joined, of course, by my trusted partner and also my trusted partner, Matt
I
Pickett.
have a name. Don't I have a name?
And our very, very special guest, Bill from Green Bay Packers Reddit.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're going to love Bill, you guys. So just listen up. So, hey, Matt Pickett, as we await, I guess, the NFC and the AFC championships next Sunday, which should be enjoyable. Go Bengals. Go Rams.
Who dey?
Who do you got?
Glad we're all on board there.
Bengals, and then who do you want Rams or the 49ers or none of the above?
Rams. Some of those 49ers out of there.
Yeah, agreed. Rams and Bengals. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Same. Wow, that's interesting. Okay, so hey, we're going to tell you why we love you, because we all know you need a lot of extra love this week. And how are you doing, Bill, with everything and with your grieving process this week?
I'm getting along like everybody. I think the first couple of days this week were tough, but you get through it. You just got to keep going. We got some good football to look forward to, so that'll help a little bit, I think. But we just got to make it through it.
That's right.
Tough, but
it's the grieving process, right? You just have to move through the stages, and
yeah.
I mean, in the end, it's like Adrian Amos said in the tweet. Like at the end of it all, like when you go home, like your kids need dad. This is, of course, like I'm thinking in my own terms because I have kids. Like the kids need your dad. Like they don't care about what happened. Like they need you to be present, like in their life. And I feel like that's just such a good message about like this sucks, but it's football. It's something we enjoy. We care about it. It's in our hearts. We're passionate about it. But like,
there are more things to life.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah, more important things. And but everybody does grieve a little bit differently. I've definitely seen a lot of different reactions on Twitter. So quite a varied response from this fan base.
Yeah, I kind of just withdrew quite a bit from Twitter this week just because I have to do my own thing in my own space. So that's just how I would, no matter what it is, I tend to work things out on my own, go for my own walks alone or, whatever. So I didn't see a lot of that. And I also didn't want to say things that I might regret or were overreaction, because part of grieving is crazy talk.
Agreed. Yep. That is true.
Point.
And I'm like, I don't need to be crazy talking all over his Twitter. I mean, because it's not that important in this, there are priorities in my life as well. So very important, meant a lot to me, but it's just a football game and a football team that we love, but
so
it's not our family. So that's cool. Well, I'm glad we have a little bit of balance and we're going to go live after the game, but kind of assumed we were going to win.
Yeah.
We were going to be like win, lose or draw, and we lost. And we had three of us there, but we did go on, but we didn't go live. We didn't record it or anything like that because we were just kind of.
We were in no state.
We needed a session.
Yeah. We just needed the chance to talk to each other. We watched the coach's interview. We watched Rodgers' interview. It was just like
together. Yeah.
This is good enough. I don't need to go live with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually haven't even watched any of those interviews yet. I'm still working up the courage to press play on YouTube. So we'll get there at some point.
Yeah.
When
Coach had his video yesterday, I think, or the day before, the final one of the season, I think. And I couldn't watch it. I was like, okay, I got to do this at another time. I felt that way kind of about Coach LaFleur and Rodgers, but since Matt and Jamie were on and we were there together, we're like, okay, we can do this together. We were like holding hands.
Yeah.
That's true. But, I will say, Jim, because I've watched, all of them now. Right after the game, it's raw and they're numb and they're just kind of in shock. LaFleur's interview the next day or the day after, I guess, because I think it was a Monday or Tuesday. He's processing through it. He's moving through it. He's a bit more coherent. He has more he can like talk about and say, he's looked and reflected and stuff like that. So it's a nice piece of closure, I think.
Yeah.
So definitely worth it. It's an easier one to watch emotionally than immediately after the game, the ones from immediately after the game. So it's good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I'll get there at some point. I've got them all saved on YouTube, so we'll figure it out.
That's right. You can always replay them, and no one should ever rush anybody in their process, whatever it is. I mean, we all have our own, whatever works for us. But yeah, it was definitely a disappointment. Woo,
Yeah.
what about other things this week, Matt, Bill, what else did you do this week?
Well, I'm at home in Chicago visiting my mom. So I was at the game on Saturday. I came up from Denver to go to that. And just been hanging out with my mom, seeing my sister and my family. And I got my dog here with me. So currently sitting in the basement, surrounded by all my Packers stuff. My mom's trying to get me to go through it to figure out what I want to keep and what I want to get rid of. I'm like, Mom, I'm keeping all this. We're not getting rid of any of this stuff. But, I got to find a way to get it home. And she doesn't want to store it anymore is basically the problem. So at some point I'll come back and get it and bring a U-Haul and bring all this Packer stuff home and set up a nice man cave in my basement, but not quite there yet. So
definitely been through that with my own mom, it comes to the point where she's like, I kept all these toys when you're a kid, which is different than Packer stuff. I didn't have much Packer stuff growing up, but if I did, I would have saved that. But it's not just like, Matt, aren't you going to save these Darth Vader figures? I'm like, no. No, Mom, why are you holding on to that one? It's so weird. But I was thinking though, Bill, just the idea of being at that game, just kind of how traumatic that must have felt. But then getting to go be with family after that, that's probably the nicest possible transition, so it's kind of nice you got to do that.
Yeah, it was definitely nice. The drive home was a little bit treacherous. It definitely was snowing the whole way, and it's about a 4-hour drive. It took us about 6 hours to get home. So we didn't get back home till about probably 4:30 in the morning. But yeah, the next day being able to wake up and just, be with my family was nice. So definitely.
In your man cave.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah. So what else? What did you do, Matt, this week? Anything special or anything?
Just worked through the grieving process, definitely. I would say that on Sunday, like a lot of people, I wasn't sure if I was going to even watch any of the football games, but the ones I started to watch, the first one on that day, it felt good, because it felt like I was like cleansing some stuff through. And I mean, they're both really good games. So it's just fun to watch good football. And I feel like, on any given weekend, we have a couple of like really good football games, like if we're lucky, but like a lot of like, not very interesting because they're not really competitive. So to have, that's 4 really competitive games over the weekend. And if I weren't a Packers fan, I would have thought their game was amazing, because like the stuff that happened, like high drama, crazy stuff happening, So, I mean, I can appreciate that for what it was. And yeah, my point is then, on the Sunday, just watching the games, enjoying football for what it is, it was good. It was good. It helped me kind of like kickstart the process and get into it. And also on Sunday, I had opened up my, this very Zoom room for people to come by and talk. And a few people came by and it was really nice. It really helped a lot.
That's good. Yeah, that was good. I wasn't able to come at that time, but I thought, he doesn't need to see me. You need some other energy going your way. So I'm glad you had that. I was really happy for you.
So how about for you, Dawn? How's the coping going for you?
It's been fine. Because I am tough as nails and I'm just, okay. So the first night I was just in shock. And then I saw how sad you were and how sad Jamie was. And so, as a mother and a grandmother, which I'm not either of,
as Jamie's adopted grandmother,
my strength kind of kicked in. And then so Monday, so I wasn't really dealing, I couldn't sleep. I was just up and excited. And then I was kind of angry on Sunday, a little bit angry. You know, I went through all these different denial, whatever. I think I wrote it down somewhere. I did think of, at first, I was like, all the good things, like the snow at the game was really great.
Mm-hmm.
The seeing Z come out there.
Oh, that's so cool.
On that play, on his
first play, that was awesome. Yeah. Lambeau went crazy when that happened.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to remember about the whole thing, quite frankly. And that's enough, because it was fantastic. I mean, it's got to be enough. And, you know, and Lambeau Field in the snow and all that was really great. And the fans. I did watch the games. I know my sister said it's too soon. She was still really angry. A couple people were like, I can't watch the games. And I just thought I'd turn them on and see what would happen. And I just watched the games. Like, it just kind of took my mind off, you know, and it's playoff games. So they were really, you know, fun. And I'm going to do the same on Sunday and watch the last two games, you know, no problem. I didn't listen to any podcasts or anything about the Packers. I tried really hard. I mean, I was liking a few tweets here and there, but I got off pretty quick. I've been doing my Wordle every day. I'm on a 10 Wordle.
Oh yeah, Wordle. There we go.
10 for 10. I almost forgot to finish it one day. And I was kind of stumped, and I'm like, I was busy and I didn't start it till the evening. And I had a couple really busy days. And then I wasn't thinking about Wordle at all, or the word. And I was walking through my apartment, and all of a sudden, crimp went through my head. It was like, crimp. I'm like, what crimp? Wordle. It just came out of my subconscious. My subconscious was working on the Wordle for me. And nice. I ran and I put in crimp, and I was like, holy crap, I almost forgot to finish this game. I love this game. I love
it's a fun game. It really is. Everybody I know is playing it. I love the social aspect of it. You see a lot of the posts on Twitter about it. Yeah. But I personally, I'm one of those guys. I'm doing it right at midnight. I'm making sure I get it done right away. You know, I don't miss my Wordle.
Yeah, a couple of times I was up in time, but those were usually days when I was doing them late, and I was like, well, I don't know, I might forget to. So I haven't done it really first thing. Is it midnight for you?
Yeah, it's midnight in your local time. Yep, when it resets.
Oh, so it adjusts to your local time.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, so when I was in Denver, it was an hour later. I get it an hour earlier now, so it's nice.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good to know. Good to know. All right. Well, cool. That was my superlative last week. Wordle.
It's just Wordle. That's right.
That was it. So, hey, Bill, tell us a little more about yourself. So how did you become a Packer fan? And because you're living in Denver?
I live in Denver. I live in Denver now. I grew up in Chicago, as I mentioned. But kind of like Erin last week, your guest. By the way, she's great. I love Erin. It was very cool that you guys had her on.
Oh, she's great.
But my dad actually grew up in Appleton, outside of Green Bay. And in the 50s, him and his dad my grandfather had 4 tickets to Lambeau Field, season tickets on the 50-yard line. They used to go to games throughout the early 60s. At some point, they moved to Chicago and they got rid of their tickets. And it's one of my dad's biggest regrets. Wow. But so, you know, I was basically just raised into it. Grew up in Chicago, but was basically born into a Packers jersey. You know, my first memory of the team is the 1992 Fan Appreciation Day. This was right after we'd gotten season tickets, because my dad and I got the season tickets, the gold package in 1992. So we went to the stadium. They had a bunch of players there. I got to meet Don Mikowski, who was, you know, Mr. Big quarterback at the time. I got a great picture of Brett Favre, because nobody wanted to meet Brett Favre. No one cared about who he was. You know, we had just traded for him. He was just standing there by himself. I got this great picture of him with his eyes closed. I shared that on Twitter a couple months ago, and that went kind of like that one. But that's really my first memory, the 1992 Fan Fest. I got to meet all my favorite players, and I've been going to games ever since. I've just been a diehard, man. It's been a constant in my life ever since then. You know, I had an Aaron Rodgers license plate in my car for like 10 years. You know, I'm a stock owner. It just, you know, you come into my house, it's the first thing you're going to see is all my Packer stuff on the wall. So it's just an obsession, I think, at this point. But you know, it's been fun. I think I love the community aspect, how it's owned by the community. I think that's so cool. It's so unique for professional sports. and just how the city takes to the team. I mean, you go to that city's not that big, Green Bay, you know, there's maybe 100,000 people there, and Lambeau holds what, 79,000 people. So it can almost hold that entire city, which is just so cool. And you walk out of the neighborhoods, and you're literally just walking through houses, and then boom, you step out one street and you're staring down Lambeau Field, you know. It's so unique. It's so cool. I've been to other stadiums. There's nothing quite like it. There's just nothing like it. And it's been fun. You know, the fans are great. We've had some lucky teams. Obviously, you know, I missed the dark years of the 70s and 80s. But you know, I'm sure we'll have those years again, and I'm sure I'll be right there, you know, cheering along. So that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. But I'm not looking forward to the dark years, but you know,
Right.
I'm sure it will happen at some point. So yeah.
Bill, I really like how you summarized all those things that make the Packers a great team, not just like why you like them, but like things that are unique to the team that make them so easy to like, and so easy to like, you know, sustain the love for them. And will, when we, like you said, eventually go into like some dark years, it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah, it will. I think it's likely.
I mean, we've been spoiled with what, like 30 years of, you know, MVP level quarterback play, for real.
Yeah.
So that's going to hit the ground eventually. I mean, maybe Jordan Love will be amazing, you know.
Yeah, I'm
maybe
rooting for him, man.
We'll
You know,
have somebody incredible, maybe, but we've been spoiled for sure.
Yeah, we have, for sure. Definitely. And you know, people always like to talk about how Packers fans are spoiled, but it's like, you know, we're just so used to it. We're at this point, you know, it's been 30 years of being the team on the cusp of going to the Super Bowl. That's what we expect at this point, you know. So we do take our losses hard, but you know, we want the best for the team. So you can't really blame us, I think.
My friend brought me to lunch today, kind of impromptu lunch, and they're moving in a couple of days. So I'm really bummed about that too. It's been kind of a sad week over here, but we were having lunch, and I can't remember what it was, but I said something about the Packers losing, and he said, yeah, I didn't want to bring it up because everybody, like everywhere in the country was texting me on Sunday or on Saturday night. I'm so sorry, you know, because it's a big deal. And I said, you know, and we got to talking about Aaron Rodgers, because he doesn't watch, he said he doesn't watch football like he used to, especially because the Chargers moved away, and he's San Diego born and raised. So he was just watching, you know, I think he said the third quarter, and he said he was just looking at Rodgers' face and, you know, the faces he was making and his energy. And it's like, yeah, that's a lot. I just want to say, I didn't listen to a whole lot I had to be ready to listen to the normal podcast, Packer content, and read it, mostly listen. I still haven't been super present on Twitter, but I was surprised, at least whether it was Monday or Tuesday, when I started putting them back into my queue, and like listening all day, one after another. I was really surprised, the honest, I'm not saying agree, disagree, or whatever, but the honest, open-hearted criticism that people were sharing about Rodgers, and not, I mean, the team in general with the loss, of course. But I was kind of taken aback, because I was expecting, sometimes Packer fans can be kind of defensive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I felt it was really good for me, and kind of cathartic to hear that honesty and that honest criticism of something that you really care about and love. Because criticism, self-criticism, it's not really self-criticism, but it's almost like a part of you, right? So you're sort of somewhat like self-criticism going on. So that kind of gave me some reassurance, and made me feel like, okay, I got through that. So I was kind of like doing one little thing at a time. And yeah, I had Game On Wisconsin before we started recording today, and just slowly dipping my feet back into it. Jamie and I are making plans for her to come down here.
Really?
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I'm
cool.
jealous.
That's cool. Jamie's
Yeah,
cool. I love Jamie.
She's the best.
She's great.
Yeah.
She said something about a hike, and because I'm still recovering from like several surgeries, and I just had another procedure.
No.
I'm like, I can walk. You like to walk? Like, we can do long walks. I live by the beach. And she's like, yeah. So we'll figure it out. And, you know, I'll probably go watch the Super Bowl somewhere with either friends or at one of the outdoor thingamabobs. I'm not going to be like, I can't watch any more games because the Packers lost. I can't be like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree with you.
Enjoy football. I mean, it's COVID, and Matt and I have talked about this earlier on, but it's kind of COVID that kind of made a lot of us really like jump in as super fans and spend more time on Twitter and whatnot. And that's when I went from being I hate football to, okay, I'm a Packer fan, but I don't know what I'm doing or looking at, to learning more. And then now I'm a football fan.
Yeah.
Which if somebody told me this would be me today in this year of my life, I'd be like, there's no way, but here I am. It's fun. It's fun. So anyway, well, okay. So you were born in a Packer jersey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Basically, pretty much. Yeah. I think the first couple pictures of me, I've got, one of those little, whatever they call those things the kids wear, and it's got the, it's all
onesies?
green with the onesie. Yeah. With the big Packers G on the front. So, my mom, I don't know if you can see this picture of Elvis behind me, but my mom's a huge Elvis Presley fan, and my dad is obsessed with the Packers. So they had a fight between, my mom wanted to name me Elvis, my dad wanted to name me, something related to the Packers, but thankfully they settled on something neutral. But I've got those two big obsessions, Green Bay and Elvis, in my family. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
That's crazy. My sister used to babysit for two boys. Do you have a brother?
I have a sister, not a brother though.
Okay, that's weird, because she was a crazy, the biggest Elvis fan you'd ever want to know, and they had two boys in the anyway, I digress. Okay, so we all met on Twitter.
We did.
But tell us about, so your main thing, tell me, is your main thing Reddit? Tell us.
It used to be. You know what? I have been on Reddit since college, I think, probably 2009, 2010. Been moderating the Packers subreddit, which if you guys aren't familiar with Reddit, it's basically just kind of a modern take on the old school forum. You've got posts on certain topics, and people can go in and reply individually, and threads can be generated underneath those. And the site's divided into what we call subreddits. Each subreddit focuses on a certain topic. So there's one for the NFL, every sport, every team in the NFL, all that kind of stuff. And it's just nothing but diehard fans. I mean, it's nonstop Packers content 24/7. And the original goal of creating this Twitter account was actually to try to drive awareness to the sub, get some more people, get some eyes on there, and try to secure what we call AMAs, or Ask Me Anythings, where players would come in and just kind of do these interviews. But I really got suckered into it, man, into Packers Twitter. I wasn't expecting to be as involved as I became. We just passed like 7,000 followers. I didn't think that would happen. But it's just been so much fun. Just being able to sit there and watch all this content, because we've got some fantastic content creators in this community. So I enjoy that. I enjoy following the beat writers and following fans. So I've mostly lately been a Twitter guy. Honestly, I'm kind of neglecting my duties at the subreddit, we'll say there, lately, but it's been a lot of fun. I really do enjoy it. And what we've kind of been doing lately is sharing a lot of like throwback videos. I think that's one thing we've been doing a lot of, because I should mention there is at least one other guy that helps me run this account. I mostly do the day-to-day. I'm the guy that's out there, trying to drive up the engagement, all that. But we've got one guy who's got access to a database of old NFL clips and films. And he's the one out there searching for throwback videos. The lead up to the season, we do something called the 100-day countdown, where we start from day 100 before the first game, and we share a play that corresponds to that day in terms of number of yards. So on 99 days, we shared the Brett Favre 99-yard pass, and we go down till day one, and we have a great epic 1-yard touchdown. So he's the one that's out there finding all those videos and sharing all those for us, and those get some great engagement. People really love those throwback clips. So we've had fun kind of digging into the archives, finding some cool stuff there. And just it's just a nice place to just share your love for the team, man. You can post anything at any time of the day, and someone's going to be out there watching it and liking it and engaging with it. So shout out to everyone that follows us, and it's just a lot of fun. Yeah.
I really like your account a lot, Bill. I feel like you're saying, like you've been more drawn into like the Packers Twitter kind of sphere, Packers Twitter
Mhm.
sphere. And it's been, yeah, it's been really fun like interacting with you over the course of the season. So I'm really glad that you have done that, you know, and in turn, of course, sharing the stuff from the Packers Reddit, like with the Packers Twitter community, because there is, I think, you know, there's crossover between like the different social media communities for teams, but like not a lot. So to like
Yeah.
get to see some of the really good stuff from there, you know, bringing that to the Twitter folks, like I appreciate that. I like that you do that, you know.
Yeah, it's you know, we've got some great meme creators on our subreddit, which, you know, one of the superlatives later, I'll shout out one of them, but
Yay.
they've got some great minds there that can come up with just some great content on the spot that you know, a lot of our users are not on Twitter for whatever reason. That's just kind of how it is. So that was kind of the goal, is to be able to just share some of that stuff, and I think we've a lot of people have had fun with it, so it's cool. And we actually have a couple of players following us, which is totally crazy. I mean, I didn't expect that to happen. You know, we've got just recently Mark Tauger, the O lineman from, you know, 2000 to 2010, the Super Bowl team. Kurt Benkert ended up following us. We've got Ryan Grant and Tom Crabtree. Those guys interact with us quite a bit. James Lofton, the Hall of Fame wide receiver from the 80s, he's following us, and a couple other people like Jim McMahon. You know, he was the quarterback for us for the Super Bowl team, maybe 1 year, I think, backup quarterback. He gave us a follow. He interacts with us a little bit. So it's stuff like that that's pretty cool too. I mean, I never thought I'd be able to send a tweet to, you know, Kurt Benkert and have him respond a couple seconds later. Like it's cool.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff that you'll get on Twitter is great, because you don't get that on Reddit. You know, players will come in from time to time, but they're not spending their days there like they do on Twitter. So
Yeah.
it's fun to be able to interact with them.
It's hard to manage, if you're a content creator, multiple platforms
Mhm.
all equally well. You have to kind of pick and choose. And I mean, I trust me, I know this because of some of the other things I do for work. And you just have and even as just a consumer of social media, you can only spend, I mean, most of us are spending a limited amount of time somewhere. So if you made your friends on Twitter, or if you made your friends on Instagram or Reddit or whatever, or you made your home there, that's probably going to be where you spend more time. And yeah, sometimes I'll get off on TikTok or whatever, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just spent so much time on TikTok. Now I've got to go do Twitter. So now I've got to skip Twitter today, you know, or whatever. So I tend to like to get onto a lot of different platforms, but for certain things, I do certain platforms.
Agreed. They're all different. Yeah.
Different vibes.
Yeah.
Like Twitter's way more personal than Reddit. Those are the two that I use the most. I'm not really on Facebook. We have an Instagram account, but I don't quite understand really how to run a good Instagram account. So I'm still kind of learning that. But Twitter, you get those personal connections that you don't get on Reddit. I feel like in the short time I've been on Twitter, you know, we just created our account at the beginning of the pandemic. I've met so many cool people that I consider friends now, really, honestly. Which you don't really get when you're just talking to a username on a thread. You know, you'll see the same username, you get to know people and their thoughts, but Twitter is just, it's a different ballgame. And I just love that connection.
Because there seems to have been a super boom on Packers Twitter with the pandemic. So I wonder if, because that's when you got on it, that's what you're seeing too.
It could be. Yeah. I think people are they have a lot more time on their hands, and social media and Twitter has kind of filled that up. You know, it's people aren't going out as much. So they're trying to connect on Twitter and get those personal connections that they're missing from being able to go out and hang out with friends. So I think that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, like as a person who works with college students who are just starting in college, when we talk to them and say, like, you know, how is it going? Are you connecting with other students? Are you feeling like you belong in the institution? Students who don't will say, like, what clubs are you doing? And usually they're not doing anything like that. So then when we get them like talking to people with shared interests, this is where we're going with this. Once you get people talking to folks with shared interests, it's so much easier to talk to people and to form friendships. So to have like this, you know, world of Packers, you know, people like on my phone in my pocket that I can like access whenever I have a minute or two. That's awesome. And like, the friendships you make. And of course with Twitter, you can also, you know, have side conversations like through DMs or whatever. I mean, that's how Dawn and I started to get to know each other, because we were both doing a mock draft with the Friday Packet Day podcast people. And so like, we were both in there, we're kind of like talking about stuff on the side, and we just kind of developed a friendship from there. So yeah, I mean, and in fact, you mentioned, you know, that Aaron Ellis was on last week. I got to know her because one of the things about Twitter that's great is you can interact with the people who are creating content. So when she started the podcast, actually Whiskoholics, before her current one, On Brand and Off Topic, I was interacting with the hosts of that show a lot and got to know them. And now to the point where I was actually I got to guest host one time, so
Very cool.
that wouldn't happen if Twitter wasn't the way it is. It brings people it can bring people together, I should say. And when it does, when it's used in that best possible way, it's a beautiful thing.
It is. I agree.
Yeah. And that's clearly what we're trying to do, because as you mentioned, Bill, there's so much content created in Packers Twitter or in the Packers blogosphere, website, whatever. It's pretty overwhelming. And so when you're onboarding with that, you're like, wow, where do I begin? These people all know each other. But yeah, I can say for sure that even from personal experiences, there's people that, I've given my address to, my home phone number, whatever. Not everybody, but I mean, there's definitely friends I've made that I would call a friend and say, hey, if you need something, you call me, and
Absolutely.
I don't know that that's happened anywhere else. I may live to regret. I don't know. I normally at this point ask, and I'm not going to ask this time, so I'm just going to pass it over. What you would like to change or what you love the most. But I think we've kind of covered about Packers Twitter. I think we've kind of been sharing the love all along. And so I also then will kind of transition to something I already mentioned, which is, well, this is episode 21 and week 21, technically the playoffs now of the 21-22 season. And the Packers, as we know, are no longer in contention.
Sad times.
So, but the Bengals and the Chiefs are, and the 49ers and the Rams are. So if you're listening to this and you're on Twitter or any of the social media platforms where we are, let us know who you're cheering for. I'll probably put a little poll up on Sunday.
Yeah.
Bengals or Chiefs. I think we have a consensus between us three, right? It's Bengals.
I think so. Yeah. Go Bengals. Go Joe Burrow. Excited to see him get to the big game, hopefully.
Yeah.
He's exciting. He's an exciting guy. At Jamar Chase, that whole team is just fun to watch. So, I personally was rooting for the Bills. I really wanted the Bills. That one of the other subreddit Twitter accounts is the Bills Reddit, and great friends with them. So I was really hoping they'd get there. But that game was epic either way, but they fell a little bit short. So Bengals all the way.
It was. And that overtime rules, that just,
it's frustrating.
It's very, I thought for sure the Bills were going to do it. I really did. I thought it
really looked like it. Yeah.
13 seconds.
13 seconds. Yeah.
I don't know how I would deal with that as a fan. I got to say that would be tough. 13 seconds is not a lot of time.
Yeah.
But
that's right.
Mahomes, he's good, man. You can't,
Yeah, that's the thing.
We kind of
win.
deal with that, didn't we? Kind of.
We've had our share of crushing losses.
The day before.
Playoffs.
What do we have? I don't know, 10 seconds and whatever it was. Anyway, okay. We're not going to talk about it.
I was going to say real fast, Bill, I know a lot of Bills fans and they're all like really wonderful people. So I was feeling it for them. Really good fan from Chicago, a really good friend from Chicago who I had reached out to, after the loss. Actually, he's married to a Packers fan. And so just like, it was a rough, weekend at their house. But
my mom's boyfriend is a Bills fan. So same thing. Yeah. He was devastated. The whole house was wrecked this weekend.
Yeah. So, not now living in Cincinnati among a lot of Bengals fans, having married into a Bengals family, I'm really excited about it. I really hope that they win this weekend. I mean, they've already beaten the Chiefs, and I know it's hard to do a rematch. It's hard to win a rematch and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But I really hope they win.
Me
That'd
too.
Be great.
Me too.
I'm feeling it. So we're going to see in the Super Bowl in February, we're going to see the Bengals and the Rams.
That's what I'm hoping for.
That's kind of interesting. Sometimes I can't help it because I'm very visual. I think of like the Rams, the animal, and the Bengals, the tiger, and what it would be like for a tiger and a ram. I just went there. I'm sorry. I'm back.
Love
it. That's great.
I can't help it. I should keep these things to myself.
No, that's what I'm going to picture now. And I love that. I'm glad you shared that. That's hilarious.
Okay, Bill. So this is the time where we get into our superlatives. This is the main theme of our show. We like to talk about the best or the worst or the funniest or the most weird thing of the week, whatever you choose. So did you bring some superlatives for our audience today?
I did. They're not necessarily something that happened most recently, but I kind of just brought out a couple of things that I wanted to share, call out a couple of things. Let me pull up my sheet here real quick. Okay. So as I mentioned before, our subreddit has a ton of great content creators, a ton of really good memes that come out of it. So I'm going to give one to what I'm going to say the best memer of r/Green Bay Packers. And that's going to be Restricted Jair Space. You can find him on Twitter at Jair Space. He's constantly creating memes. He's just had some great content. It's just he's quick too. So it's like the game will end and he'll have a meme ready to go that just it sums up the game perfectly. It's great. It's easily shared. And he puts a lot of work into it. So big shout out to him. He's great to follow on Twitter. But love his memes. Absolutely love him. And he's just a mainstay over on our subreddit. Everybody loves him. They all know about him. Anytime we see his name posted, people jump in there and they're ready to laugh at those memes.
Awesome.
Yeah, he makes great stuff. Totally. I'm glad that you're shouting him out because really enjoyable account to follow.
Yeah,
I don't think I'm following. Okay, so
he's kind of slowly working his way up on Twitter. I think he's just sitting at like 1,000 right now on Twitter, but he's very well known on our subreddit. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't follow him yet. But
and then
it's worth a follow.
Yeah, and anyone who's listening, we'll have his link in our show notes as well as Bill's in the subreddit too as well. So
cool.
You can all follow. Okay.
Appreciate that. All right. So my next one is going to be what I'm going to call the best Packers internet newsletter. And it might not be the best, but it's definitely the one I enjoy the most. So it's called The Leap. It's run by Jason B. Hirschhorn at by JBH and Peter Bukowski at Peter_Bukowski. It's on Substack. You can find it at theleap.substack.com. But both of those guys basically, every day they're putting out articles. It's sent right to your email. It's very easy to consume. And I think they just have some great analysis. They go back and forth on topics. They'll write one paragraph and then the next guy will step in and write another paragraph. And it's kind of like a conversation about the Packers, but in a newsletter form. So you can sign up there for free. I think the free account is like 1 or 2 articles a week. There's a paid account that's just every day. But I just love what they do. I love their content. So I'd like to shout them out and, hopefully people can go out there and follow them and join along because I really enjoy reading their updates every day. So thanks.
They're both so talented. And like I think Peter Bukowski especially really impresses me with how much stuff he puts out and like the consistent level of quality, of it.
Mm-hmm.
He hustles, man. It's impressive.
Yeah, and I think we've got some really talented beat writers. I enjoy following all of them. They're constantly putting out stuff, which is just great. So shout out to all of them. Sometimes I think they get a little bit of slack that they don't necessarily need. People seem to like to beat up on them a little bit, but they're fans like us. They're out there covering this team on a day-to-day basis. They're bleeding with this team like we are. So, I love them all. So,
do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite beat writer though?
I don't know if I have a favorite. I like to follow him. I really do like Peter Bukowski. I do follow him a lot. I like I like Wes Hod. I don't know how to pronounce his full last name. Is that it? Yeah, him. He's great. And Jason Hirschhorn. I'll say this about Jason. We went to high school together. He's been a friend of mine since way back in the day.
No way.
Wow.
So
that's cool.
We're super close. We talk outside of Twitter and on a personal connection level. So, he's a great friend of mine, but he ended up getting into this space. He's covered the Packers for the last, at least, 10 or 11 years. He used to work for Acme Pack & Co. So, I love the way he writes, I'm maybe a little bit biased, but he's a great follow too. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And Peter always mentions, it's funny you say that because I listened to Peter, his podcast, and he always mentions at the very beginning that he has a newsletter that he would love for you to subscribe to. And I'm like, I've got to do that. What are these? Now I have to.
It's a good one. They really put out some quality content. Just, not having to go to search for it, just get sent to your email. I spend a couple minutes a day reading them and it's great. So
good idea. I love it.
Cool. And then my third one here, my third superlative is going to be best Packers Twitch streamer. And I'm going to shout out Kurt Benkert here. If you guys don't follow Kurt Benkert on Twitter, on Twitch, whatever, do so immediately. He's great. He's another meme creator. He makes his own memes. I've confirmed that with him. He is out there making his own memes. And he streams on Twitch. He streams a lot of Halo, a lot of Fortnite. But what I really love is he really interacts with his fans on there. You can go in there and ask him questions, and he responds while he's playing. You know, he any new subscriber, he shouts him out. Anytime someone makes a donation or does something for the channel, he shouts him out. And he'll just sit there in between matches and just talk with the fans, and it's so cool. I think it means a lot, and it's very cool to see it. And again, his Twitter's great. You know, he just signed that futures contract, so hopefully he'll be around here next year. Which I'm a big fan of his. So everybody go follow his Twitch account because it's great every time he goes live. And you know, there are quite a few Packers players that stream on Twitch. MVS is on there, AJ Dillon's on there. Who am I forgetting? I think Equanimous St. Brown is on there. And they're all great. I mean, they all play together sometimes, but Kurt really goes the extra mile to interact with his fans, and it's just great.
And his interactions with people on Twitter, that's hilarious. I love it so much. I mean, he has definitely become very beloved by the Packers Twitter community, no doubt. And he's an excellent follow. If anybody's hearing this and is not following Kurt Benkert on Twitter, like, what are you doing? Like,
you should be. It's a great follow.
Is he still doing, what is it, Tuesdays with Grassi, or was that only during the season?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know about during the offseason. I haven't seen it this week, but yeah, during the season, he goes on there with Grassi, which is great. Grassi's another, I love his content too. I watch all his videos on YouTube, him and Brandon Perna. Perna and him do a GPS show, they call it, where Perna's a Broncos fan and obviously Grassi's a Packers fan. So there's a lot of good content there as well.
I love back to Peter. He's in the Locked On group, whatever group that is. And so then he'll have the Locked On, like whatever, if we were playing the 49ers, he had the 49ers people on his show, whatever that was, Tuesdays and Thursdays of the week before. So it's really good to get that, whatever organization it is that he works with or for, that does that. That's just brings a whole new level to prepare you for the game, get you mentally, even if for what to look for, and to help you as somebody watching the game, whatever level you're at, to kind of look for certain things. Also, of course, Andrew Meerdink and Kyle on Fridays, and Packaday do that as well. So, but yeah, Peter's great. I really, sorry, I just went backwards, but we love them all. Those are great superlatives. Good job.
Yeah, but I love those. It's great.
Good job.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear yours.
Yeah. Okay. So mine really kind of, for me, followed the progression of the coping process, because my first one was the best thing that I heard the morning after. So, you know, a lot of the podcasters and writers will produce content like immediately after a game, have it out there. Like, for instance, Sarah Kelleher's recap. I haven't read it yet, honestly. I usually read it right away, but I couldn't read it yet and I haven't gotten back around to it. But anyhow, one of the people who does a podcast usually right after it is frequently mentioned person on this show, Jon Meerdink, and his podcast that dropped on Sunday morning really helped me to like begin to cope and to kind of get me like, you know, moving forward with it, because he really talked through some of the emotions, talked about like how it's okay to feel anger at this point, but he didn't just like dwell on the anger part. He kind of talked through it and helped me to like make sense of, you know, the emotions I was feeling and like what we had experienced collectively. So I think the superlative, I think I wrote it as best morning after processing. Jon Meerdink, thank you. Really appreciated that. Did I think I listen to that one? Did you hear that?
I have not yet. Like I said, I'm behind for sure on my content this week. I've got a 15-hour drive back to Denver tomorrow, so I'm gonna get it all probably during that. Nice. That's when I'll start listening. So I'm
so glad you jumped on even from your mom's house. I think by Tuesday I listened, but as usual, I don't remember anything. So I know I enjoyed it. I know I listened. I took a whole day where I just listened to one after another of all of who I normally listen to. And it was very helpful.
Yeah, for me, it was like, woke up Sunday morning. I didn't want to just lay in bed forever and be sad. So I was like, well, my kids need to eat breakfast. So like going back to the Adrian Amos thing, so I got up and I went and I got some donuts, which I don't always do. So I was like, I just need to eat my feelings a little bit. So we'll go get some donuts, make some eggs. And when I'm doing that kind of stuff, I'll put on a podcast like always. So, there it was, Blue 58, newest episode, and it helped a lot. So that's my first one. Next one, later in the week when the Packs What She Said podcast came out, I was kind of in an anger place, focusing on Aaron Rodgers for not throwing to Alan Lazard, the special teams for doing special teams things. And so when this week's Packs What She Said podcast, which by the way, it's their 100th episode, big milestone. Huge congratulations to Maggie and Perry. That's so awesome.
Very cool.
Kept that going, and it's such a good podcast. I love listening to it. But anyhow, a lot of, especially where Perry was at when they recorded that podcast, she was just she was in anger. That was the stage she was in. And I appreciated that because I had some anger I hadn't really gotten out yet. And so, it's like the movie Inside Out, Pixar, there's the scene where Joy's trying to cheer up everybody like she always does, but then she sees that the imaginary friend character is talking to Sadness and just Sadness is actually letting the imaginary friend character just feel his feelings so he can process and move on. It was a moment like that. It helped me to process my anger. And I was driving down the road and I found myself just screaming swear words that we don't say in this show because it's a family show, just screaming them at the top of my lungs while I'm driving down the road. And afterwards I was like, that was cathartic and I needed that. And thank you, Perry, for helping me to feel my feelings on that. So that was best cathartic anger session, this week's Packs What She Said podcast. Whew, awesome. Just talking about it.
Ooh, yeah. I could see you driving down the streets, filling out all those words with donuts flying out the windows in Cincinnati.
Well, the donuts were Sunday morning, though I would eat donuts every day if I could. So.
Oh, you mean you were able to stop at one day of donuts?
Yeah, yes. Although found out today there's a new donut shop that just opened in Cincinnati. We're excited about it.
Okay.
Anyhow, love donuts.
Me too. Me too.
Well, then my third one then was best clarity and confusion. So just kind of a precursor before I get into this is that every week, Dawn and I think of the things that we really enjoyed. We talk about them on the show. That's the, the nucleus, the core of the show. And every year when you talk about who should be the coach of the year, people will always mention Bill Belichick, but he doesn't get it every year, even though he's an amazing coach and kind of, you could always make an argument that he should get it, and he probably deserves more than he has got. This is like Dusty Evely. We could talk about Dusty Evely every week. I could talk about an article or a video or a whatever, or a podcast that he did that week. He could always be a person on here, but you don't want to just keep talking about the same people over and over again. But this week he did a video on that play that I've already mentioned here a couple times, that kind of our last chance in the game, where he tried to people say try to play hero ball with Davante and miss the throw that to wide open Alan Lazard. So Dusty broke that down. He talked about in a video that he made, it was about 11 minutes long, talked about what the passing concept was, what the play design was supposed to be, kind of how it broke down, why it broke down. I mean, you can only get into so much why because you don't really know exactly what was going through Rodgers' mind. You can kind of guess, you can kind of, come to conclusions about it. But the thing I love about the video is it shows that there was a logic. There was something happening. There were things that were supposed to happen that maybe didn't happen the way they were supposed to, but it wasn't just Rodgers freaking out, just trying to chuck the ball at Davante. It helped answer. So I'm trying to say is it helped to answer some of those why questions that are just kind of hanging out there after you've watched the game. So appreciate it, Dusty. That was a good one, man.
Yeah. I love that kind of stuff. It gives you that perspective that as you're watching the game at home, you don't always get, these guys are breaking down the film, they're watching all 22. It really does change things. Maybe one of those safeties was supposed to drop down and shadow Lazard or something. It was supposed to be a one-on-one. It maybe didn't end up happening. I didn't watch the breakdown, but it's cool to get that insight and that analysis from those guys.
Yeah. And something tangible to hold on to when we're all going, what happened? How did this happen?
Yes,
Which is
exactly.
kind of all we're all why we're numb or speechless is why and or how.
Yeah.
Something tangible to just
Yes.
like hang on to. And aside from, we just blew it or gave it away or whatever, panicked. Yeah, I like it. Well, Dusty, it's okay if you mention him as multiple.
We can't talk about Dusty
good.
every week.
So good. They took a question from me on the Pack-A-Day Wednesday crew. Speaking of Dusty, Sarah and Steve wasn't there this week, but I was asking, let's see, what did I ask? If you had a sliding scale, LaFleur on one side and like being 1 and 10 being Goody. I'll just say Goody. I can't say his name. Who has the biggest problem to solve regarding special teams here? I'm not saying who's to blame. I'm saying who's how are they going to solve it, and who's going to take the bigger role from a 1 to 10 it was 50. In other words, is it 5 and 5 or is it 10 and 1 on one side or the other? Meaning, are they going to build the defense more so they and special teams actual players? From what I understand, and I know not anything about football. I always say that. That's my caveat. From what I understand, that comes from building a deep defense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, you've got to have the depth on defense. A lot of those depth players are going to be the ones to fill in special teams.
And the teams that have a good special teams core is because they have a deep defense. So in that sense, I thought it would be Goody. Obviously, Matt's going to give him what he needs. And obviously there's some coaching issues, but from what I kept hearing all year, it was more player implementation, execution than coaching. So that'll be interesting. So that's why I asked that question. Just speaking of Dusty. So superlatives, I have a 2-in-1 superlative, and I'm going to keep it really short because I really don't know what I want to say about this exactly, except for maybe my stage of grief is heading into moving forward a little bit, even though I'm still going through. With grief, you're never just in one or the other. You're kind of like bouncing around. So
it's always a straight arrow. There's kind of going to be backs and forths and
for
stuff
most
like that.
people. Yep. So for me, I felt it was a good sign that I was already thinking about mock drafts and, because we did have a lot of fun with that last year.
Yeah.
And the off season was fun until it wasn't.
Understatement of the year. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we're promised not to have that this year. So
I'm laughing through the pain of that memory.
Oh God. Anyway, so I was starting to think about the mock draft. So I'm always keyed in on Ken Ingalls, but even more so. And I asked him a question. I had a really intelligent question I asked him and I forgot what it was. I don't think he answered, but that's okay. I know what I asked him. I asked him, like, if there was a 3 pie chart, like defense, offense, special teams, is there kind of like an average that teams spend in each of those 3 out of 100%? Like,
it's a good question.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just curious because, getting the mock draft going and all that. So, and then I can't remember why. I think I was in some Twitter spaces and Ken Ingalls might have been on there. And he mentioned Jason Fitzgerald from Over the Cap. He's the founder of Over the Cap. And he said he gets a lot of his stuff from him. And, but he has a really good article. I'm just going to give you the link in the show notes, but it's called The Future for Aaron Rodgers in the Packers. And I wasn't really wanting to read anything about Aaron Rodgers this week for obvious reasons, but it's a very interesting article, pretty much all about the cap space and all the different scenarios. And I want to reread it and actually take notes because it's kind of got a lot of different numbers and scenarios in it. But for anyone who's interested in that, and really just how likely and what the Packers truly would gain from a trade or from a retirement or from a this or that. So, because a lot of people throw things out there that aren't based on how it really works, how his contract and the cap space and all that really works. So I'd like to call that the best math of the week. And I think it was like 4 days ago. So yeah, I think it's this week. And then and Ken Ingalls for pointing me in that direction. And
Great account, by the way. Everyone should be following
Yes.
him as well. His knowledge of the cap is incredible.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And there's a great article from Taylor Dunne on Kenny Clark that I'll also put a link to, and I'm not going to mention anything about it in just out of respect for having time and more time to chat with you. But that was, I think, from last week. Honestly, it might be 10 days old or so. So yeah, so
Still really good though.
really good, really good. So yeah, a lot happened in the last 10 days.
Indeed.
I mean, in my life and in the Packers' life, and yeah, so
Processing together.
that was my
Moving
cleansing
forward
breath for those
together.
of you who can't see. I've had to do a lot of those. So Bill, any final thoughts for us? Are there any questions that you want our audience to know about you? Questions that I could have asked you that I didn't?
I don't know. That's a good question itself.
That's awkward.
I don't know. I can't think of anything other than just I appreciate everyone that follows us and interacts with us. It's really, really fun. I'm really enjoying my time on Twitter, and I keep getting more sucked into it every day. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
That's what Packers Twitter is like.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
quicksand.
Mhm.
That's right. That's right. How about you, Maddie? Any final thoughts for us for the week?
Just a PSA. As we enter into the off season, we're going to see a lot of people talking about re-signing and also about people resigning. These are not the same word.
Here we go.
Resign should have a little hyphen in the middle there to keep us from freaking out when we read that, Aaron Rodgers resigns with Packers. He resigned with the Packers. He's resigning. I know he said he might, but at least it's a Packer. Resigns. Resign. Okay. It is perhaps my off-season pet peeve. So please, people, if you're hearing this, and if you write a tweet with that, resigns and resigns are different words. Thank you. Okay, that's my thoughts.
That's great. We see that a lot on the subreddit, and every time it happens, someone will call them out for it too. So
Good.
Oh.
our subreddit users would be in agreement with you there.
How about you, Don? What do you have for final thoughts? Anything?
Final thoughts. Priority, it's for me, I have my priorities. We each all have our own priorities, whatever they are, but my spirituality is my number one. Family, friends, my surrogate family, and then the Packers. Right. So to keep things in perspective, I think that helps me, maybe because I'm a little bit older and I've been through a lot of things, a lot of big things that I don't get quite as wound up as I used to about things. Doesn't mean I don't feel it. It's just like perspective, it's all perspective. Oh, and by the way, another final thought. I can't wait to see some of your digital photography, Maddie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
You mentioned.
I said in Jamie's post, right, that I was
Yes.
gonna maybe try to pick that up a bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Darn, you can see a lot of my stuff that I've done in the past before I kind of set it down. Quick background since you brought that up. So I did a lot of digital photography before my first daughter was born. I did a lot in her first year, took a picture of her every day.
Awesome.
A lot of that stuff is on my Facebook account. So I'm also on there, probably as Matt Trombone, probably. So Don, I think we're connected on Facebook. You can check out a lot of my old stuff there, actually.
Oh, okay. I will. I love photography. I studied art. I studied photography before it was digital. Then it became digital. And I was like, I learned all this darkroom stuff for what? But it does help you when you're on Photoshop. You actually know it's like learning math by hand before you get a calculator.
Mm-hmm.
So
totally. Yeah, it's good.
Because a lot of people are like, how do you take such great photos? And it's like, well, because I learned how to take. It doesn't matter if it's my phone. They're like, what camera are you using? It's like, I don't even use my digital camera anymore. My Nikon, nothing. It's so convenient. And of course, iPhones, cameras are pretty nice.
Better.
Anywho, and then all the, Photoshop, if you want to blur something or change whatever. So I'm looking forward to that. I take a picture of my kitty because I have a new kitty. She's almost going to be 7 months in a week. Every day she gets a picture.
Nice.
That's the way to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. And I thought she was going to be this big bruising kitty, and she's just stopped growing. And now I think she's going to be a midget, like a kitten her whole life.
Little
So
pocket
Well, there's
cat.
nothing wrong with that, right? I
Sure.
mean, I was
Nothing.
just reminiscing about the pictures of my dog as a puppy with my mom the other day. I kind of wish I could go back to that time.
Yeah. No, there's nothing wrong with it. She's perfect no matter what. I am going to get a Maine Coon though, and it's going to crush her. But she can hold her own, I'm sure. She's very confident little petite thing. But yeah, no, I think it'll be okay. But if I do get a Maine Coon, they're like 30 pounds. So, and she's like maybe 7. So she'll be outweighed a little bit. Anyway, no problem. So everyone, please make sure if you don't know who Bill is, you're following him on Twitters, and the links will be in the, of course, in the show notes on Instagram at Reddit Packers, and of course on Reddit. And why does it say, oh, Wisconsin Reddit? Is it wireddit.com/r/Green Bay Packers? Did I get that right?
It's actually just reddit.com/r/Green Bay Packers. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No WI or anything, but
Okay, it's in the document. Okay. I'm just,
I think we have a link to it in our bio as well. So if anyone goes to our page, they can just click
Exactly.
our link and
yeah,
head over there.
exactly. Yeah. Off-season memes. Let them roll.
Oh, there
Mhm.
will be a lot of them. We'll share them all.
I think I'm going to try my hand at meme making.
Ooh.
Do it. It's fun. It
It's
is
so
fun.
fun. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh.
I've made a few in the day, but not Packers.
Oh, I gotta say too, Don, I feel like there are certain common I'm trying to say like reaction gifs people will use, throughout Twitter. There's sort of like a language of them. And I feel like you have this amazing ability to find like these perfect gifs that I've never seen before all the time. Like if people don't know this, Don's GIF game is outstanding and underrated. It is. You amaze me all the time. Every week, there's a couple times I'm like, that's perfect. Where'd she find that? That's fresh and original.
It's
Props.
all in the search word.
Yeah. Mhm.
Mhm. I don't use the normal search word. And you know who's really got a good GIF game? My 85-year-old mother. She will. I am kidding you
amazing.
not.
It's amazing.
Her GIFs, her little emoticons or what? Not the emoji, the
Emojis.
animated- yeah, the emojis. I'm like, and she does all the language. The letters. What do you call the acronyms? What's the word for that? Why is my brain not working? But you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I think I'm with you.
Yeah, like right now, RN. Like before I do.
Oh yeah, abbreviations. Commonly used like abbreviations. Sure.
Yeah.
TBH.
She's amazing. I love her so much. Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Matt. I'm glad. I love GIFs. People say
Me
that to
too.
me all the time. I'm always sending them on my text, and they're like, I love getting texts from you. And then if it's a special day, you'll get 3 from me. It's called my GIF bomb. I'll be like, boom, boom, boom. Anyway, all right. And of course, you can follow Hey, We Like Your Pod on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Hey, We Like Your Pod at Hey Willip. That's HEYWLYP. And I'm in all the same places, Don Dacquisto. And our links, of course, will be in the show notes. And Maddie, where can we find you?
I'm at Matt Trombone on Twitter. That's 3 T's in the middle. Friends, please subscribe, rate, and share. Hey, We Like Your Pod wherever you listen. Helps us grow our audience and keep spreading the love.
And that's what we're here for, spreading the love. It really does help us and help you. And we appreciate you and all of you joining us this week. And we both are so glad to know you, to be fans of you, and to be fans still of the most storied team in the NFL. We appreciate your support, your subscriptions, and sharing our pod. And we look forward to seeing you next week on
Hey, We Like Your Pod. And we almost, I thought maybe not today we would go through the whole episode without mentioning your age. But it did.